shake your dreams from your hair. I'm already there, right beside you. So please, don't hide, just say I'll be there if it breaks, right beside you. Suddenly I know now how it feels. I no longer have to beg or steal. I can stand now on this higher ground, where love is just a sound, where love is...
Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. We're getting pretty late in September. It's September 22nd already, and I can't believe how quick the time has gone by. So I have my little Nespresso this morning, pumpkin spice. It's that season. It's time for pumpkin. Hope everyone's doing really well today. It was kind of weird missing a show last week, but hey, it was a busy weekend at the expo in Toronto. And yeah, I've got a lot to say about it. I have some pretty awesome pictures to share with everyone. I hope everyone's doing well, enjoying the season change. Yeah, it's I can't believe it's already going to be October soon. It's gone by so fast. Let's see who we have in the chat this morning, our early risers. And the first one in the chat is April. Good morning, April. I'm going to throw you under the bus. This is the second time now before I go live on the podcast that April sends me a whole bunch of messages and it forgets that we're doing the podcast in the morning. And she's like, oh yeah, it's Sunday morning. That's right. You're about to go live. So it's funny. Good morning, April. Nice to see you here this morning. Yeah, she's giving me her little skull faces. Uh-oh. The fact that I was frozen on the skull faces was really funny. Of course, we're going to get off to a strong start this morning, and my computer's already going to give me problems and start freezing. Sorry, guys. It is what it is. I mean, it's, the joys of living in the country, I guess. Good morning, Tammy. How are you today? Thanks for joining in. I don't remember if the last show my hair was this red, because I did do it before the expo, because I had the last weekend was the CRBE, and then next weekend I'm in Vegas. So I was like, I need to really redo my hair again because all my roots were getting a little out of control. So I don't think my hair was this red the last show. So I'm a redhead yet again. Fat Man's in the house. Good morning, Chris. It was really nice to see you in person at CRBE. Definitely had a really good time that weekend for sure. Had a blast. And then we have Natty in the house. That's what I forgot to upload on the screen. So I actually picked up a jumping spider from Natty this week coming back. When did I get it? I think it showed up like Tuesday or Wednesday. First jumper. I've never had a jumping spider before. I have a couple tarantulas, and I have to say this thing is absolutely adorable. Finally getting over my fear of spiders, but this is the cutest little spider ever. And so she had named it, what was it? Bacon, egg, and cheese. So I've nicknamed it Beaches with some of the abbreviations, like some of the letters of it. Yeah. And then, by the way, Natty, I went and picked up some of the fruit flies yesterday for her. So we're all set up now. We're good to go. Anyone's looking for jumping spiders, she has adorable little jumpers, and she takes the best close-up pictures. And that's what, actually, I'm going to see if I can try to bring it up here because it's absolutely adorable. And I had meant to bring it up so I can show it. So let me find it. And I am going to download that. Doing it on the fly. because I have to share it because she's absolutely adorable. And we're going to do this. Perfect. And sorry, guys. Should have been, I guess, a little bit more prepared, eh? Aha. Didn't take that long. Now we're just waiting for it to upload. There it is. There she is. And she has the cute little, look at the pink. She's so cute. Thanks, Natty. She's awesome. And she's so much tinier than I thought she was going to be. Oh, goodness. Let's see who else we got in here. We got Cassandra D in the house. Good morning. Thanks for joining in. And I think that's it for this morning in the comments anyways. If you guys want shout outs, you got to leave comments. Yeah, April, it's almost spooky season. I think we're basically there. There's so much stuff right now at all the stores. Like you're going out, all the Halloween stuff's out. And I haven't drove around to find any of the spirit stores yet because they pop up in like random places, right? Whether it's like abandoned and there's no like a store closed down and then spirit will take it over during the holidays. But I haven't taken a drive yet in town to see where they are, but there's been a lot of ads that have been popping up on my Instagram for spirit. So I'm sure they're opening or sometime soon because they're really pushing it. I don't think so. Your hair looks so good at the expo pics. Oh, thank you, Natty. Yeah, brightening it up, nice and bright. Bacon, egg, and cheese croissant. When did you add the croissant? I don't remember seeing croissant. I think that's new. Oh, goodness. And I see, April says, I seen Christmas and Halloween stuff all in the same aisle. That I find crazy, and I agree. April and I are both in Smith Falls, and I don't know why, but Smith Falls has already, I don't know if it's the same everywhere else, but they've already taken out Christmas stuff, and we're in September. So I don't know why like it should just be fall and Halloween aisle. I don't think all the Christmas stuff should be coming out this early. Like granted, like Gerald is really into Christmas, and come November 1st, this house turns into like Christmas town. But it's a little early at September. Like I know our kids are already wanting to watch Christmas movies, and I've like put a big halt to that. I was like, no, it is fall. Scary movies, spooky season. That's where we're at right now. I don't want to pass over that. Oh, Natty says they have Christmas stuff too. That's crazy. That's wild to me. Okay, so I think what we'll do is we're going to jump into the tea time and talk about the expo because that's our positivity for the day. So let's go and jump in. All right, so we had a whole bunch of internet friends that became like in-person friends, which was pretty awesome. They came down from the States, like all over the States. Like we had people from South Carolina, Tennessee, New York. Like it was pretty wild to be able to meet so many people in person. Some last minute people who joined in was Jared and Allie from Jaw Dropping Morphs. And I have to say, like, they were spectacular. They were such a huge help for Gerald and I to set up the booth. Gerald's not in the chat this morning because he's gone to set up his hunting camp. So he is like zero service at all. So he couldn't even join if he wanted to. But I did get a chance to take a picture with Allie. So Allie was a huge help. I mean, she helped me hold the fort. You know, one of the things that this was our first CRB for Gerald and I to do. And we both had our own booth. So I think we were a lot more, I'm trying to find the right word. Like we were a lot more braver than I think we should have been maybe going into it because we were just like, yeah, we're going to do this all by ourselves. And then I had my booth and then Gerald had his booth and then he had another table. So it was a full corner L, right? And in hindsight, like thinking about it after the fact, it's like, yeah, it probably would have been good to plan to have people there to help us. Cause then you're like, okay, well, if one of us has to go to the washroom, then we're one person having to help the entire like 2 booths and answer questions and so on. And then like if we're wanting to go grab food, I mean, like usually when we're doing the smaller expos, like let's be real, we're not really taking much time to eat because we're engaging and chatting with everybody that's there. Um, but it definitely is a lot easier for those of you who haven't vended before or have only done smaller events. Like, definitely something worth noting is to try to see if you can have friends or people come and be part of that team to help you out, because that made a world of a difference. And I don't think we could have done it without Jared and Allie's help, because they were like helping us. They helped us put everything up, set up the booths. They showed up before we even got there because their flight landed before we got to Toronto. So just a huge shout out to them. Like, so much gratitude for their help. We had also a whole bunch of other people who came down that also helped, especially with the tear down. Because I know that Jared and Ali wanted to help us, but they had to leave on their flight on Sunday earlier. So we did have, Paul from Large Marge was there, helping out, Kevin from Sugar Skulls, like a lot of the Ball Python gang and the 15 Minutes of Lame gang. Right. So it was really nice to see, like, just everyone wanting to help each other and like help raise you up, right? And wanting to see you succeed. Chris from Fat Man Nation also got to do a whole bunch of interviews. I'll have that picture. I'll bring it up in a sec. Got to see Sam again from the Modern Gecko, and he also got himself a really cool neon sign. So that was really cool. You see it in the back on the top right. So it's really neat to see the neon signs are taken over. So that was pretty awesome. Yeah, he also had a great show, some merch exchange. He's got some pretty cool stuff too, like shirts and keychains. The merch was like wild how quick that went. I sold a lot more merch than I thought I was. It was really awesome to see the support and how much everyone loved to see that there was t-shirts and sweaters and hats and and wanting to support each other. It was awesome. And then there's a little picture of my booth. So this is when it was all set up. Tried to make it look as professional as I can. My husband has a big 8x8 sign. So you can see his on the left here. Like, it's massive. And I think that's eventually the goal. I'm going to invest back and get like a huge sign behind me. I already have it designed. It's just a matter of investing in it and getting the sign I want. I don't know if I want a big canvas one like he has. I think I want more of the fabric ones, which are more expensive because they have like the whole setup to kind of pull over. So for this time, we just made do. I had my little sign back here. My, I think it's like a 4x6 is the sign. Maybe it's smaller. I can't remember. And then my other little roll up one. And then of course the merch. So, yeah, I mean, the booth will evolve. We'll be able to make it kind of, upgraded as we move along. But it was, I was very proud of it. I thought it was a great setup. The geckos seem to be doing really well in the setup. With the changes, we didn't have deli cups, so they were all in displays. And I had water dishes for all of them. And I've seen them use water dishes throughout the day. Like, they were climbing up on their little bridge thing that they had and drinking water. Some of them wanted to hide, so they had substrate and they would kind of go high. But, you're writing all the labels on the top so people know what's in there. And if they're interested in it, it's just a matter of taking them out and showing them the geckos. So it all in all worked really, really well. We have a couple comments in here to share on the expo. Parkour Geckos, good morning. Nice to see you. Natty's, your expos are massive compared to the ones in the Maritimes. Well, I would imagine, because I don't think there's as many people in the Maritimes to have as big of a booth, but it'd probably be fun to come and check one out. And Natty, you'll have to come up maybe next year for the next CRBE. That would be fun. April, yeah, seemed pretty constant every time I stopped by to say hello. It was very busy. Like, we had a constant flow of people coming and asking questions, and either they were interested in the geckos or the merch, or they just wanted to ask questions and learn more about geckos. The cool thing about this expo is that it's connected with like the whole pet expo, right? So, but we have our own wing. So we do have our own section that's more geared to the reptile people, which is great because you still have a spot for all the reptile people to go and kind of shop and visit. But you're getting other people that are in like the dog side, the cat side, that are curious and they're wanting to come and kind of learn more about um, about reptiles and to see, hey, maybe like this is an animal that I'd be interested in and bringing on as a pet for, to shake it up and not just have a cat and a dog. So you're kind of bringing in new interest into it, right? Cassandra, it was huge. I did not get enough time to see everything. That's the other downside when you don't have a whole bunch of people helping at a booth is you don't have as much time to walk around. So even though I was there for the whole weekend, I didn't even get to see the dog or the cat section at all. I wanted to see the aquatic section and I didn't even have a chance to see any of that. So I only really was able to kind of see a little bit of the plants that were around me. And then I did a quick walk around with the reptile section. But I have seen people post geckos on Instagram that they picked up at the expo and like was kicking myself after because I'm like, that would have been a perfect gecko and I would have totally picked that up if I'd seen it. And it's just I didn't have a chance to really go by and see what everybody else had. And that's the only thing that I find was a little unfortunate about it. But I mean, that's on me. That's my own planning of not having, you know, the ability to be able to go around and see what everyone else has. Spitfire geckos, the other people didn't stop coming. Yeah. So Spitfire was also there vending as well with some friends. And we did get a chance to talk a little bit at the expo. And yeah, it was constant. It was really, really busy, which is awesome. It was really nice to see a kind of a rejuvenation, right, with the industry that so many people are coming out and interested in kind of getting back in it. And as a breeder, it's really nice to see um, that's kind of coming up again. It's not so much in a decline as it has been over the last couple years. So it was really exciting, and energizing to see that. Thanks, Natty. Uh, Agreed. Mine used water dishes too. Yeah, because it is stressful, right, to have them at the expo. Like um, it's very exposed, and for animals that like to be so secretive and kind of hiding away in their plants, it is a lot. So you try to make it the most comfortable for them, that they have a space that they can kind of get away or kind of hide, and that they're able to hydrate. So definitely was a huge factor. Good thing to have it. And I'm going to do water dishes now that you shared the setup. Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be like the magnetic ones, even like little containers that you just put in there too. There's different ways to go about doing it. I did see more people using water dishes at this expo that I've seen in the past, which is awesome. And let's see, we got one more picture. Yeah, so at the expo, Chris Eaton, so on Fat Man Nation, was able to do a whole bunch of interviews with vendors that were in the reptile section. So that was really neat to be able to do these live interviews and have people come take some time away from their booth and talk about their business, their experience at the CRBE. And it really you get to know like the different vendors that are there. I was able to sit down and do a quick chat with him. If you go on Fat Man Nation, you'll be able to find it. It's there's a whole video. I think it's about, I want to say it's probably about 3.5 hours long because he ran these interviews throughout the whole day, which was fabulous. He was part of the Red Line B Squad because we had the A team that was there with Leviathan Snakes and Small Town Exotics. We're doing a Red Line Road Trip. So you will see more videos coming out down the line that are going to show a lot more stuff that was happening at the expo and some interviews with some other vendors as well. But this one here, if you're wanting to see something now, it's a lot of fun. You get to meet people and get to know the different people that participated in it. So definitely check it out. If you go on my Instagram, it is linked there. And I have my interview there, but you can definitely go on Fat Man Nation and you'll be able to find the full video there as well. And then we had time to do a group photo, which is awesome. So we tried to get as many of the breeders we had a little group chat going on. So we tried to get a whole bunch of the gecko breeders that were going to be at CRBE. Definitely there's people missing in the photo. It was kind of it was, trying to get everyone at the same time is a bit tough. We did try to do it over lunchtime, and I had to hustle. Like, I was like, I gotta take a picture, and I ran all the way, and it was at the other end of the expo section. So we did try to get as many as we could. I'm sure there's like a bunch of people that just didn't have an opportunity to participate or weren't snagged or aware that the photo was happening. So I do apologize if anyone missed out. We'll have to try to organize it maybe even more ahead of time for the next expo so that we can get an even bigger group. But I want to say that this is the positive that I've been seeing in the community, and it's really cool to see all the people get together and be so excited, like, to take a group photo, right, and to meet one another and to talk about geckos and what projects you're working at. And that's the thing that I love to see, is that connection and being able to really meet people face to face and build those relationships with other people. So yeah, so that's my little, I guess, short review. I can say so much more things, and I have so many more pictures to share that I could probably do an entire episode just talking about CRB. But we're not going to do that, because that's not what we're here for. And we do have a guest today, so we definitely have to bring her on. So today we have Cassidy from Cassidy's I'm blanking. It's Cassidy's reptiles, I think. So we're gonna bring her on, and I just gotta find where is it? My little espresso. Okay, there it is. Okay, so we're bringing Cassidy on. So hold on.
Hello.
Cassidy's Cresties. I'm like, ah! The problem is, like, it's always either a reptile, exotics, and Cresties, and I always get it wrong. I'm so sorry.
No worries. Don't worry about it at all.
I'm like, oh man, I know this.
So how are you? It sounded like
Oh,
it was awesome.
yeah, it was a great time. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm a little disappointed I couldn't go. I really wanted to go, but I did have a car accident in June, so I'm relying on other
Yeah.
people for drives, and I do have a concussion, so I'm not sure how I would have done in the big group, but I'm really looking forward to it next year, and it looks like you guys had a
Yeah.
really good time.
Well, we'll have to, yeah, definitely you'll have to come next year, and I'm sure it's gonna be even bigger and better. I swear they get, like, it's gonna only progress from here, right? Like, only
Sure.
better things to come ahead, which is awesome. But yeah, I have to say, like, I've been to a lot of the Toronto expos, like the one-day ones. This is the first time I've been to the CRB. So my husband's been to the last CRB
Mhm.
just to travel, right? To go and visit and shop and meet people. Um, I was supposed to go the last two CRBs, but I've been sick. So every single time coming up to it, like, honestly, like a day or two before, I would get like the worst cold ever and just, like, can't breathe. And I feel like one of the times I had COVID, which is probably the case. But you
Why
don't want to go in a big group of people and be sick, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think that, well, if you're a nice person, you wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I'm sure there are people who have done it. Like,
Yeah.
I think April posted online, she came back from CRB and she got a cold. So I don't know where she picked that up. And I can't, it doesn't mean that you picked it up there. You're driving, it's not like it's just down the road. Like, we're still stopping at roadside stops and stuff. So, like, you could be picking it up anywhere, to be honest. But yeah, I was so stressed for this one that I was gonna feel sick again, and I felt like there was something coming on, and I'm like, "Of course, it's gonna hit me, like, right before I go to CRB," and thankfully, It
Not
didn't happen.
this time.
No, it was not the case, so I was so thankful for that. Now I'm, like, worried about the, please don't get sick before going to Vegas.
Mhm.
Because it's that time of year, like, the
Yeah,
kids are back in school, and the weather is changing, it's getting cooler, and now you're having, more and more people
for
get
sure.
catching colds, right? It's bound to happen.
And then the kids go to school and they all share it, and then when they go home, all their parents and stuff get it. So honestly, I would think that's probably a good traveler for, because there's tons of kids at the expos too. So, and they're touching
Yeah,
everything. So yeah,
yeah.
I always say wash your hands when you're there, but if you're touching animals, you probably should be anyways. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. It was an awesome time. Sorry you missed it, but there's always next year, and there's a whole bunch of other
photos.
ones coming up, and I forgot to mention that on the tea. So, October 20th is the next Reptile Expo. So they have a one-day expo at the International Center. So that'll be the next one. Now, we're not vending at that one. We're hoping to do some more vending in the fall. There's just too much going on for us in October and stuff. It's too quick for us. Too much. But like the sales went really well and I still have geckos, so I think I'm going to start posting them this fall, and I got some cool little Halloween style props to use to take some pictures, and so I think it's going to be, you know, the next couple weeks it'll be taking pictures of geckos and sharing them online with some spooky
I'm
themes.
I'm horrible at that. Once in a while, I will get a setup done and I'll take photos of every single one in my collection and try to slowly share them or eventually
Yeah.
forget about them sometimes. But for me, I love taking photos. I love sharing about them. I'm just bad at it. Like I just forget to do it because I just love playing with the geckos and looking at them. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm forgetting to share them online and sell them. Maybe I should
Yeah.
do it too.
Well, it also depends on the time that you're playing with them, right? Like I handle them a lot in the evening, and then you're not getting I like taking it with the natural like
Yeah.
daylight outside. Like that for me is I have so many photos where you have the green grass,
Mhm.
and our grass is that green. I saw someone posting, I think they were in the States, and they were getting a lot of negative feedback that they were being accused of editing their photos because their grass was so green.
What if
And it's
it's
like, and I'm like, some people just have really green grass, it depends on where you live. And like, we had such a wet season this year that
Yeah.
we've had so much rain, and we're having to cut the grass almost twice a week because it's growing so well.
Yep.
Like in drier summers, yeah, you're having yellow grass. Like
Mhm.
it's not always going to be green like that in the summertime. But like this season, yeah, it was green grass. And when I took Lipton out, the green gecko, like he really pops because he looks as green as the grass. And I'm like, no, I did not have to edit this photo. The grass is really this green. He's really that bright. But yeah, I find it tough to take pictures in the evening. Like this lighting in here is not so bad, but I find that whether I'm using my Canon or my phone, I have to still edit the picture because it still doesn't come off like
Not
it's
their true
still
color.
it's not the true color. And I would love to speak to somebody maybe who's um more well versed in photography, because I feel like there's a way that I can set up the lighting and use certain things where I can capture that color without having to do, because I hate having to do that editing. And that's why so many of my stuff is on a white background, because it's easier to edit your white to true white, and then you're able to get that true color of the gecko.
Mhm.
Um, but I wish I could just take a picture and I'm like, that's what I see. And the other thing is, I don't know if you've noticed this, but you'll take a picture with your phone. And when you're taking the picture on your phone, it looks great. But then when
Mhm.
the picture pops up, it looks totally different with colors. And I'm like, why can't you take the picture the way I see it?
Yeah, I have no excuse because both my dad and like my fiance's dads are both photographers. So I could get great photos if I put in the effort to setting up a photo area and learning how to use my camera. I'm just a little lazy and I need to work on that. I need to get better with my social media. I've just had a lot going on. So I'm just kind of taking it one day at a time, doing the best I can, making sure that the
Yeah.
guests being taken care of is the most important thing to me. And
Yeah.
that's being done. So if I'm not posting photos, it's not the end of the world, but it would be nice to start getting more active and sharing
Yeah.
them and their progressions, because a lot of my photos of my smaller ones, they're fully grown now pretty much. So
Yeah.
yeah.
You'll have to, when you get back into it and start taking photos, when you're doing the photos, you should set up a secondary camera filming you do it, so that you could put a little video out and show people like how you're doing your setup. Because so like there's a lot of videos you can find where people will talk about it and
Yeah.
will like describe like the different equipment they're using and so on. But
Mhm.
I find like I'm very visual, like I need to see somebody doing it. So to
Yep.
me, I'm like, it's great.
Yeah,
Thank you for
please.
telling me what light you're using, but I want to see where you're putting the light, like in relation to where your gecko is. So if your gecko's there, where's your light? Where are you in
Mhm.
relation to the light to take the picture? Like that's the stuff
Yeah.
anyone who's listening or is catching the playback after this has good like has seen good videos about that and where people are showing it, put it in the comments and tag me in it, because I'm all for learning more about the photography aspect. I haven't found the right videos that work for me to be able to understand how to do it properly.
Agree. So I learn by doing, but I
Yeah.
can like watch what someone's doing and do it myself. The problem with most videos is they're just explaining, but I'm a visual and do it myself kind of a learner. I think it's called I'm a
Yeah.
kinesthetic learner.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally agree. I would need the kind of same setup and taking you through all the steps while they're doing it themselves, showing you the final product and like giving
Yeah.
you like troubleshooting stuff while they're doing it. I totally understand what you mean about it being a bit confusing to watch a lot of the videos online.
Yeah, I think that if someone was here and like helped me set it up, I would
I lost you. I lost you.
I'm
Coming back,
back.
just lost you.
I don't know when I cut out. Was that if I had somebody set it up and I knew what it looked like, then I would remember it right away and I wouldn't have any, like, it would just be engraved in my mind. I'm like, okay, I just duplicate that every time. But if I'm watching a video and someone's trying to explain it to me, I have to rewatch that video over and over. And it's like that with anything, like even for simple things like knitting. Like, I had someone show me how to knit, and I'm like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I never forgot that." But then now I'm trying to learn different types of, like, and I'm there on, okay, playback, and, like, trying to, like, learn how to do it again.
Yeah.
Everyone learns a different way, right?
For sure. And I think most of the ways of teaching that are popular are just talk about it, but that definitely doesn't work for a lot of people. And I know, especially after my concussion now, when people are talking to me, sometimes I just like looking like a deer in the headlights. I'm like, what? What do you want me to do? Can you write it down? Um,
So, in with you with a bang and started talking about a whole bunch of stuff right, we kind of didn't cover the initial introduction of who Cassidy is and how you got into the geckos. So
I
I think
just
it's a good time to kind of segue into that. So Cassidy, tell everybody, how did you get into Crested Geckos and like how long have you been working with them and breeding them and
I got my first crested gecko as a pet. I was at a reptile expo. I don't know if it was, I think it was just one of the regular expos.
Mhm.
And my sister had taken me, my oldest sister Alexa had taken me when it was like 2018.
Okay.
But let me just jump back quickly because my initial interest in reptiles actually also started by my sister Alexa because she was dating this guy when I was younger and they had so many reptiles. Like his entire bedroom was like, it was so cool. It was just every kind of reptile. He would rescue them, he would breed leopard geckos. I don't think he had crested geckos, but he had tons of stuff. Like he had frogs,
Okay.
geckos, he had those massive, what are they called? Like water monitors or
Oh wow. Okay.
I don't know if it was a water monitor, it was a monitor. I would have
Okay.
I was pretty he probably felt bigger than he is. Yeah, I loved going there. I loved seeing the animals. And so I was always interested in reptiles. I had toads and like hermit crabs and like fun animals growing up. But my sister took me to the expo and I was interested, I think, originally in getting a leopard gecko. And
Okay.
I saw the crested geckos. I believe it was from Rosemere that I got my first cresty from.
Okay.
I believe it was him that started off the those like drilled bins where he like the starter.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You mean like the little starter kits? Then you
Yeah,
get like the little food thing and everything in it. Yeah, those are awesome.
yeah. So I got my first gecko from him. I had no idea anything about them. I just thought they were so cool, and I um I ended up doing all my research for leopard geckos and came home with something completely different, the
Mhm.
Cresty. And I very quickly fell in love with her. I learned a lot of the care. I got really, really into it a year
Okay.
into having her when she got bigger and I saw how beautiful she was progressing. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. They changed so much growing up. So I found
Yeah.
out that my friends had a male and she was a female and she was about 2.5-ish around this time. And she was, I think, like 45 grams.
Okay.
Um, Luckily, she was like, I didn't know that much at the very, very start, but she did meet all the requirements. So I'm happy that I didn't ever put her in a position to like not have a good chance of having some healthy eggs. But no, she was all
Yeah.
good. And I don't actually think I ever got any eggs from her if I'm remembering back, but just the whole idea of pairing them together, I got so excited and I was like, wow, wait, I could do this. This is something I can do. So I just started getting them. I didn't really know what I was doing at first other than like the care, and I was really researching it and just not doing anything and not rushing into it until I had an understanding of the best way to go about it.
Yeah.
Started buying. I was a little like rushed with what I bought. Like I should have researched morphs and stuff more. I think every new breeder.
I think everyone goes through that though, right? They all find like they're like, I want this, I want this, I want that, because there's so many pretty different colors and patterns. And then
Yep.
after when you actually sit down, the people who actually want to do this and start breeding more like a business, then you kind of reevaluate and you're like, oh crap. Like maybe I should have like taken the time before going into it and figuring out what it is I really like. But sometimes you need that to really find out what you
Yeah.
really like, right? So there's
Yeah.
it's a two-sided coin at that point.
It's definitely tough. So I ended up starting Cassidy's Cresties in 2020 and breeding.
Okay.
And so yeah, I guess I was one of the COVID breeders. I technically started right before. I
Yeah.
technically started right before, but
Right before it hit.
right before it hit, I got into them. But I loved them. I just loved the whole process, the finding the eggs, the watching them lay, everything was so cool. And I was just so intrigued that I really got into it. And I went from having one crested gecko to now I have 70.
Yeah.
Um, and pretty much my whole collection I bought as babies. This is part of the problem of why I have a little bit too many. I got them when they were babies, and then I just watched them grow. And
Mhm.
it's a lot of difference when they're in containers like this as to massive tubs.
Yeah.
So they take a bit more space now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, because you have a lot more like you say like you have, over 70, like I'm around like a little I was counting with you the other day. So I'm like at 79 now. Um But at least I would say, if I look around, a little more than half of mine are still either hatchling or jubies.
yeah,
Like, I don't have a huge collection of like large bins, right? Like, I have very specific ones. Whereas you're in a position where you've watched them grow and you have a larger percentage of your geckos that are adults at this point.
pretty much like all of them. I
Yeah.
have started breeding again. I was really worried for a while about the overbreeding that was going on.
Yeah.
So I did cut down breeding and I wasn't really breeding for the last 2 years. Like I had talked about doing pairs, but then I was like, oh, I don't want to bring all these animals in and then have it be completely unattainable because they're all very well taken care of. My fiance is the same. He's really been like he really stepped up and has been helping me a lot with them because I can't lift the big
Mhm.
bits and stuff right now. And I
Mhm.
have trouble catching them when they jump because normally I'm like, they jump, I don't even look, and I caught it because I'm
Yeah.
so used to them jumping. But um, I can't react as fast right now. It's a work in progress.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll get back to my normal self, but I like the other day, one jumped out and was like flying in the air, and my sister was like, "Oh my god!" And I didn't even notice until it was like jumped on me, jumped on the floor, and ran into the other part of the room. But we got
So
him.
I guess it's a good thing then that a lot of them are larger geckos, like, because I can only imagine, like, some of those little hatchlings can be flighty and, like, you know, like, you're like, "Oh, gotta get it," because 'cause they'll try to escape.
Difference is, I've been holding all my hatchlings so much lately because they're one of the only ones that I can really like. I can't really lift any other containers but the really little ones.
Okay.
So I've been playing with the little ones just to, because yeah, they can be really flighty when they're so little, but they've actually been doing
Yeah.
pretty well and they're not too jumpy. I think because I've been holding them since the day that they were hatched because I'm
Yeah.
at home every day. So sometimes I'll just
That's
like
a
pick
huge
them up
help.
and
Yeah, it's a huge help when you're handling them a lot more. They get used to being handled. So then, you know, if the problem I find is if you have so many and you're not handling them all the time,
yeah.
that's when you tend to get some that are a little bit more skittish. I do have a couple that have a little bit more energy.
Yeah.
Um, they're like their dad because the male has a lot more energy. So I think
Mhm.
that to them it's more of a genetic component where they're just a
Yeah.
little bit more rambunctious. But for the most part, like I handle mine every day, so they get fairly used to being, you know, looked over and checked
For
and
sure.
picked up and so on. And I have all these little vines on my back wall here. I could probably pull one out. These little things, they're like little lights.
Oh, those
So
are
I
cute.
put yeah, so I put these little light vines, which have been awesome because I do all my gecko stuff on this table
Mhm.
and I have these vines. So it's the first thing that they want to jump at is the vine. So then they'll just jump and they'll grab onto the
That's
vine, but then they can't climb very fast. So then they'll just kind of
good.
like climb in the vine and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna grab you. So it's been even like to put them on the vine when I'm cleaning up a bin, like they seem to like just kind of stay there.
Hang
So
out.
yeah, it's been helpful, the little vines.
Trent and I feed our geckos every other day. So every time they're getting fed and stuff, they get looked over and we just make sure they're all good, check weight, check skin, make sure they're not having shedding issues, make sure that they look hydrated, like make sure they're yeah, like the good checkovers. I have one who's been struggling a bit with shed, so
Mhm.
I'm gonna have to see maybe there's too many holes in her container. I'm gonna switch her
Yeah.
container, so hopefully that will
It's
help.
a fine line between being not humid enough and too
Mhm.
humid.
Yep, totally.
Yeah,
Hers I think dries out too quick. I think I drilled too many holes because I
okay.
had pins that I was like, oh, I think it could use more holes. So I was like, let's put more holes in everything.
Yeah,
And I think hers has a few too many holes.
got a little hole a little punch hole crazy. Like
I got a little excited. I'm a
I'm
carpenter
gonna bring
drill.
there you go. You were having a little bit too much fun with the drill.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pop up some of your geckos. Let's talk about some of the projects that you've been working on. And my mouse probably needs a new battery because it's slow. There it is. Okay, so tell me about. So we did a little different. You sent me some pictures today, and I think this is kind of fun because usually I go through the top 5 and it's the adults,
Mhm.
but you provided pictures of the 2 adults, like the pairing, and then we have a picture of like a hatchling out that resulted from that pairing, which is fun because then it kind of gives us a ability to see like what they're producing, and you can kind of talk about that project and why you're been working with that pairing.
Oh.
So go jump into it. Tell us about these guys.
On the left, we have October, and he is my red lily white. I have to double check. He is from his mom is name. I think her name is Champagne.
Okay.
From Canuck. Is that who they are? Canuck Exotics, I believe, is where he was produced. And
Okay.
I have the lineage on most of my geckos. I just, of course, didn't write it down.
Yeah.
But he is definitely, I think, a champagne baby from Canuck. And This girl on the right was actually one of my first Crested Geckos I ever got. She's a bit of an older girl. I want to say she's probably like 7 or 8 now.
Okay.
Her name is Rosie. She was sold to me as a red brindle, and
Okay.
I don't know, man. I don't know. She has created some like orangey red babies, but she does kind of just like look yellow.
Mhm.
But I don't know. She's a
It's
weird one.
tough it's tough with the older ones because I
Yeah.
find the base pattern will change so much depending on what it is when they get older, right?
I sold her for a while. Like I didn't know what I wanted to do with her, but then I saw how one of her babies turned out like amazing structure and really cool brindling pattern. So I really regretted selling her because she was kind of sentimental to me. Like, and I regretted it as soon as I did it because I was like, oh, like she was one of my first geckos. Like she was the first gecko I ever had breed actually and lay eggs for me. So I just
Okay, wow.
I kind of was upset when I sold her. I was like, why'd I do that? So I luckily I sold her to I think they just changed their name. What did they change it to? Oh, I'm blanking. Her name's also April. I'm
There's another April with the Gecko Hub.
That the Gecko Hub. Thank you. I just
Okay.
completely blanked, but yeah, I think she had a name before and had just changed it. So I just
I believe she did, yeah, and she's changed it. I don't know when that happened, but yeah.
yeah. So I had sold Rosie to her for a while, and then she was nice enough to let me buy her back. So I really appreciated that. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, so they're both just really funky geckos. I was like, they're both kind of weird looking. I was like, I wonder what they would make. I feel like this could be really cool, like with
So
her.
this was kinda like your mystery project.
Yeah, this was a I wanna see what happens pairing. I was like, I think they're both so cool, and I was just really
And
interested to see
and
what
this is
happens.
what happened.
Yeah, and there he's so funky, and I just love him, and I'm so happy, and he's actually my first lily white I've ever produced, so he's pretty special to me.
Yeah, so it's a phantom, eh? It's a
Yeah, it's like
phantom lily?
new,
Yeah.
brindley. He's really cool. I'm really excited to see like how he grows. But this is I'm also a huge plant lover. I'm a big alocasia enthusiast. So in the back there,
Okay.
that's one of my alocasia Frydek variegateds. I was
Okay.
like, let's take a photo with this so we can show how white they both are. They're
Awesome.
beautiful.
So, for what they've produced, has it been fairly consistent, or is it like you finding all sorts of different things coming out from this pairing?
So it is a newer pairing, and it took a while to get them to lock. So
Okay.
I've had an egg that this I was telling you about this the other day. So I had a lily. I posted it on Cassidy's Cresties. I'm so sad about this, but I had one of the eggs from the clutch before this one that had popped
Mhm.
and made it out because I wasn't home. So
Okay.
that's really unfortunate. Not much I can do about it, unfortunately, but
It
it happened.
happens, yeah.
This one was, I think, laid by itself. Like there was only one egg laid. Or actually, sorry, one was just a dud.
A dud, okay.
But the other sibling I have from this pairing so far, because it is still newer, like they're still laying.
Mhm.
Um, the other one I have is like this really cool brindle, and I'm really interested to see how
Oh,
that
cool.
progresses. Yeah. But yeah,
Neat.
that's that pairing. And
Um,
October is really sweet. Like he's a really sweet boy.
so this is a this year's pairing, right? This year's eggs. I don't know if you found that, but last year my egg productions were like super like I had so many eggs last year. I had one first time female that laid 10 clutches.
Oh,
Like it
really?
was yeah,
Wow.
and I lost only one egg out of all the eggs. Like I had it
Really
was such a good season. This season I'm finding it very different.
good. Yeah.
They're laying a lot less clutches.
It's more space.
Um, yeah, more spaced out, and they're laying one egg is good and the other one is kind of a dud, or and
Or when
it's not like that with all the females, but like full disclosure, like their calcium sacs are great. Like I'm
yeah,
checking them all the time. Like there's nothing that I've done differently this year than last year.
totally.
But it's just been a really weird season, and just I don't know. I mean, it happens. Like we went through this with ball pythons
Mhm.
last year with the ball pythons. We had, I think, about 8 or 10 pairings, and they all reabsorbed except for one, and we only got a clutch of eggs out of one pairing. Whereas
Oh,
this year, we got like basically almost all the clutches have been laid at this point. So it's, I think it happens. Like you'll have seasons like that. I have heard from
yeah.
other people that they've had a weird egg laying season this year as
Yeah.
well. I
We're
don't know
good.
if anyone's listening in the chat and can share their experience, but like I've been finding it a little of an odd season.
I agree. Do you guys, off topic slightly, do you guys open your snake eggs?
Yeah, so we do. Thankful that we have decided it's a very controversial subject because some people will wait till they pip and they're not ones that want to cut. We've had 2 hatchlings this year that was tied up with the umbilical cord that we were able to save because we were able to cut the egg. Yeah. So we do cut them. We wait till like it's like to the point where they should be pipping.
Yeah.
And then we cut and then they're in the incubator and they come out on their own. Like we're not opening them and taking them out, or we just make sure that they're fine, that they have the ability to come out.
Yeah.
And then they're able to kind of come out on their own, but it allows us to have more a higher percentage of
I heard
viable
that. That's why I
snakes,
was
right?
asking. Yeah, I was really curious about that because I've seen videos of people like cutting the snake eggs. I know it's a
Yeah,
little more controversial with crusty eggs. I had an egg
yeah.
recently that I wish I did cut actually because it molded
Okay.
after. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, no, I know it's pretty controversial with the egg cutting, but um, back to what you were saying before about the breeding this year, I completely agree. It's been odd because when I started off as a breeder, I had no idea what I was doing. My care now
Yeah.
is so much better. The stuff they're getting fed, like I don't just feed them like the crusty like food anymore. Now I'll mix in like bee pollen or I'll mix in extra
Mhm.
calcium. I'll mix in cricket powder, like just to amp it up a
Yeah.
bit, get the calcium going. All of their
Yeah.
calcium sacs are great. The outsides of the eggs are pearly white when they come out, but
Mhm.
either one's a dud or one molds, or I've been finding they've been molding so much easier. Like
Yeah.
not as many eggs come out and not as many eggs make it to like their hatching point, like from any
Yeah.
other year I've attempted to breed for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, well, hopefully it'll just be this season, and the next season it'll be like we're getting close to cool down. For me, like I tend to cool them down like come October and stuff, and it starts to cool down. They get a cool down November, December, they're cooled down, and then when we get into the new year, they naturally get it here because we don't have we're in the basement because we don't have air conditioning, right? So it's the
Mm,
coolest spot. So naturally in the winter, this room does get cooler. And then I usually have to put a space heater in here to bring up the temps sooner than what the temperature would allow me to. Like it doesn't get super, super cold by any means. Like there's still heat in here, right? It's still part of the house. But I found that the cool down and then bringing up the temperature and the humidity again really helps kind of get them wanting to pair, right? And lock and get into that mood, which has been really helpful. But we'll see what happens next season. I got some pretty exciting stuff next season, so I'm hoping that it's going to be a better one than this season. That's for sure.
I'm hoping to. I also have some really exciting stuff. One of the girls, I'll talk about her later though, because we have a photo of her. I'm so
I don't know
excited.
if it's one of these or we're popping into these ones now.
Towards the end, we'll definitely talk about these two because these two are awesome. So they are both from Northern, but from different years. Um,
Okay.
I believe they're both Northern. I'd have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure. But they're from different years, and I did have the pairing on one of them, so I was able
Okay.
to at least make sure they weren't related.
Okay.
So on the left here, we have Sunstone, my pretty girl. And she actually has a bit more white kind of creeping in on the other side of her. You just kind of
Okay.
can't see it, her legs hiding it on this side. And then Mr. Squash. He fires up a lot more orange, but
Name.
he's just so calm that he never wants to fully fire up for me. He just doesn't do it. But Yeah, so these two beautiful extreme oranges, I've always loved. I haven't even mentioned it. So the stuff I like to focus on is reds. I love
Okay.
I just love color. So I really like the
Mm.
oranges too and just like lots of patterns. So we are going for like extremes, tries in there, lots of reds, lilies,
Yeah.
and just like oranges. So like we're going for a good mix of stuff. I find that there's a lot of different things that make me happy in breeding, and it's just so hard to choose when there's so many good things like
Yeah.
to choosing. They're awesome.
And then you got a little hatchling here, and you can see the orange pattern on him for sure, eh?
Oh yeah, and he's not even a month old. He was only a few days old in this photo, so
Oh, wow.
sure he's gonna progress beautifully. I can already see he's gonna be so high coverage, and it almost looks like
Mhm.
his face could go red too, so I'm wondering about
He
that.
is looking like he has a red base.
That'd be cool.
For sure. So it'll be the reds are hard to tell because you have to wait until they're a little bit larger to really see what type of if it's gonna be a red and what type is gonna pop out.
For
Because you
sure.
can get such a variation of it, right? You can get the bright coral red, and you can get more of an orangey or, like, more of a brick red, and so fire truck red. There's so
I love
many different.
For sure. I wonder how we would describe October, the first male. Um, I
Oh,
have
this
some
one,
yeah, I
this
have a
one
hard
here,
time
right?
with
Yeah.
reds, but I actually got his red decent. I would say that's
Mhm.
like a I don't know, bricky. I don't know. It's a
They're hard
beautiful.
to picture. They're hard to take pictures of too, that's the other thing, they don't get captured very well in
For
photography,
sure.
like, it's tough to get, and you need to get them at the right time of them being, like, fired up, basically.
Yeah. I thought about and I was trying to get photos of a gecko, the gecko who went flying on an adventure the other day. His name's Kimchi, and I actually got him from Vintage. And I
Okay.
got him, he didn't look too red when I got him. He's gorgeous. He's so red. His white, like his sides are super white, and he's gorgeous. But I couldn't get a photo of him. Because-
He moves too much to get a nice photo.
So these two are one's very well known and the other one's from one of the most well known pairings. So on the left
Okay,
here we have Caramel, and
okay,
he is from the very famous pairing of Tzatziki and Honey from
okay,
Rampage.
yep,
Yeah, so I got him when he was a baby. Beautiful. I love him. He's probably one of my favorite geckos. He's such an incredible tri yellow, and he's just awesome. And
okay.
yeah, he's gorgeous. So
He's really pretty, he's got a lot of coverage on him, I love the cream, like, that white come up too, it's really cool.
yeah, and I love how his back's like pretty empty, and it's just like he's so cool.
Yeah,
And his girlfriend here is also a well-known name, Godiva.
okay,
Yeah, and I have her parents too. Where actually I could pull those up quickly. They're on my story. So she is from Splashed Out Geckos from Remy and Willow.
okay,
Yeah, so she's a bit of an
awesome.
older girl too. I think she's like 6 or 7. I would have to double check with Bree, but no, I love them, and
Awesome.
yeah, they've just started. I have 3 babies from them so far, and they're gonna be some of the nicest stuff I've ever produced so far. Like,
You're looking at doing, like, high coverage with them and tries and, really contrast so that, like, a more of a dark base with a lighter pattern, eh?
yeah, a dark base with like the like yellow tri, like they're just both gorgeous animals. And Godiva, this is a perfect example. So
Yeah.
I was told that all of Godiva's babies start off like not showing much pattern and then absolutely explode. And you can already tell with this one. One, he's gonna have a gorgeous creamy side.
Yeah.
Definitely looks like he's gonna have a dark base, but I can already see all the drips, all of that pattern that's gonna absolutely
Mhm.
explode. So I'm really excited to see what's going on with this pairing. I think Rampage is actually going to be getting one of the geckos from this pairing because
Okay.
he knows the potential of the lineage, but also like I'm pretty excited to
Yeah.
see how they turn out. I think they're gonna be
Well,
some.
even like look at the back foot, like it's already covered the whole foot, you know, and you see little spots and spatters everywhere, and you're like, that's just gonna blow up as
Yeah.
the pattern progresses because this is a tiny little hatchling, right? I
Mm,
love
a
how
few years
thick
old.
the pattern is on the dorsal.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, I'm
it
so
looks
excited about
so
that.
thick.
I think he's gonna take after his dad a lot. So I
Mhm.
think this is probably gonna be my holdback from this pairing, but we'll see because other really nice ones could come out. But one of them actually, one of them actually came out looking like it might have a red base. So
Oh, cool.
we'll see. We'll
Well,
see.
you know, I know it's a controversial thing, but there's a lot of people that still believe, like I'm on that train, that red is recessive. So that at the
Mhm.
end of the day, if you have a pairing that's not red, but they're het for red, then they could
Yeah,
still produce reds, right?
for
And
sure.
I personally have experienced that myself where I've had reds show up in animals that don't look red.
Mhm.
And like like I have a tri lily that I paired up to. I believe she's a strawberry. So she does have the red in her. Phantom, the het empty back phantom female I have stowaway, but
I
she
think
like looks very vibrant yellow, right? But there that pairing made my bright red lily
right.
lily pool. So like, and it's red. Like the amount of red that comes out of that gecko is
Mhm.
intense.
That's
So
cool.
you do see it pop up in pairings where they're not both reds.
For sure. I actually got I don't know if you'd know this gecko, but Dunkaroo from Rampage, the
Okay.
really high white lily, like he's covered. One of his parents was red, so I'm
Okay.
actually gonna Rampage was pairing Bubblicious with him.
Okay.
It was just a full like red gecko with some portholes. And I'm gonna continue trying to pair them. They Bubble doesn't really lay many eggs, so I'm gonna try again, but I think they could create some really red babies because Bubble's from like a true pink line and then Dunkaroo has red like from his parents. So I definitely think they would
Okay.
carry the red gene really strong. So I think I would definitely want to do that. But I don't know. I love the colors. I love yellows now. I didn't used to like yellows. I'm just really starting to like them now because of Caramel. Because I
Yeah.
think he's so gorgeous. And then I also saw one. Oh, I also love Rampage's what is it? Lemon Lush.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so
So there's some really cool yellows, and they've made a huge I don't know if comeback is the right word, but like they've become super popular this year
I
with
think they're just getting the
like
credit they deserve.
yeah, and I agree, and especially like I've been working with I have some C2 lines here, and it really makes that yellow pop, and then you'll have more of a hypo, like a heavier stacked hypo where it's more of a light yellow. So you have so many different options that you can work in and get like a different variation of the yellow, which is really cool. Like
Yeah,
I'm most excited about one of my head empty back yellow lily whites because it has the het phantom in it, which all the outlines of the lily is all like dark.
that's so
And
cool. You have to send me
and then you have a bit of brindling on it, and then you have the yellow that just really pops on it. And
awesome.
the white pattern on this lily is like crisp white. So it's such a big contrast. It's so neat. So that's the one I think out of all the stuff that I've hatched, that's probably the one I'm most excited about.
That's awesome. You'll have to send me
Yeah.
photos so I can take a check
Yeah.
like
She's
after
still little, but she's starting to put on or she's starting to get chunky. She's getting there.
That's another thing is at the beginning of breeding, I had no idea how to tell how an animal is gonna like progress and how they were gonna grow and into their pattern and stuff. And now it's so cool being able to just look at a photo and being like, oh, this gecko is going to be absolutely covered in pattern and
Yeah.
that white is gonna get all big and it's definitely
Yeah.
cool to now understand what to look for as babies because now like I used to just keep them until they were pretty big when I
Yeah.
was stuff back, but now it's cool to know beforehand.
And then last but not least, tell me about this one.
This is, I want to say, probably my favorite, one of my favorite geckos. She is just gorgeous. I'm obsessed with her. So I got her from someone who was getting out of the hobby. I think it was Wizarding Geckos. Wizarding Geckos.
Okay.
They were getting out of the hobby and they were selling stuff at like dirt cheap. It was
Yeah.
so cheap. And I think this gecko was, I don't know. I bought a few in bulk, so I maybe paid max $100 for her. And I just adore this girl. Her name's Dino. Um oh, Charlene has her dad. What's his name? Charlene has her dad and he creates just like very nice like um white creamy sides. I'll see if I can
Okay.
very quickly find the name of the dad because I think I can pull it up quickly.
Natty, she is a stunning girl.
Django.
Oh, Django. I think it's Django. Django. It's like D apostrophe, like yeah, Django.
I never know how to say it. I just know it's my gecko dad.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, she's awesome. I loved her so much that I actually got a half sister of hers who's also
Okay.
stunning. Her sister's name's Momo. If anyone wants to look at my page, but
Okay.
this girl, I've got some plans for her. I think I might pair her with Caramel. I think they could do some cool stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, but she's been sitting at like 42 grams for a while. I have to reweigh her because I think she's finally at weight, but I think I need to move her into a smaller bin and that might help.
Okay.
She's in like I have my big tubs, but she's in like a really big tub because
Gotcha.
I had a few that were like extremely large that I just wanted to give more space. So she's in one of those, but I could just move her into a regular bin. I think she'll get the few
I
extra pounds she needs.
I find that some of them do better when you downsize a bit smaller. Like
I
if you
think
give them,
it's big.
some of them love the room and they're all over the place, and there's other ones that are a little bit more or less like they're not as likely to move around and wander
Okay,
and explore. And even if you put the food close to where they like to hang out, their appetite tends to pick up if you're putting them in a little bit of a smaller space.
Sure, I think they get
Um,
stressed, so
yeah, especially some of the males too, I find are like that. They tend to
yeah.
like a little bit of a smaller space.
Yeah,
But
I have one male that like Dunkaroo, of course my most expensive gecko is one of the most stressed out geckos. He hates when I switch his tank for one,
okay.
but he does not like being in anything but a 12 by 12 by 18. Like that's and he's
Okay.
also one of those males that's just not huge. He kind of sits around he sits in between 35 and like 45 grams. So I really have to like if I'm gonna breed him, I really have to like
Yeah.
feed quite a bit for a few days, make sure his weight's really good before I breed him. Because he's just naturally a small boy. I think one of his like mom or his dad were also small, but certainly for such a small boy, he certainly seems very eager to breed all the time. He's
Yeah,
very
and I think not every gecko needs to be like 60, 70 grams, like hunkin potatoes. Like, some of them are a little bit more petite frame. I do have some like that are really, really large. And then there's some that I just like, they're 4 or 5 years old. They eat their bowls all the time. They're very, healthy eaters, healthy geckos, and they just have a smaller frame.
Yeah, and I think it's the question about breeding weights, I think, can sometimes be a bit more aggressive than it needs to be. Yes, if it's a new breeder, if you don't know much about this gecko, if it hasn't bred before, you need to be following those guidelines. If there's
Yeah.
any concern whatsoever, you need to be following those guidelines. But sometimes males, if they don't hit the 45 and they're 43, but they're flinging their thing out all the time, just
Yeah.
breed them. They're going to be happier. Just make sure the female's an appropriate weight for the male and make sure the
Yeah.
male's old enough. That's
Yeah.
constant issue I see is people breeding geckos that are like a year and a half old. And I'm like, whoa, don't do
Yeah.
that. Please don't do that.
Yeah, I think it's all relative to the geckos. Like, you will have females that will start laying duds earlier on, but you can tell, like, depending on what their age is, what their weight is, I mean, even the quality of the dud, you're like,
Mhm.
you're not ready. Like at the end of the day, when they're out in nature, like they're going to do what they're going to do. Like age and weight is just a number. Like it's whenever they're ready for it. Like I have one female here, um, age wise, she's about right. Weight, she's a little low, and she's laying constant duds every 30 days. But I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't think she's ready to be paired yet. So
Yeah.
I've held off. I'm like, you'll be good for next season. We'll do a cool down period, and then next season, then we'll pair you. As I feel like it would be too rough on her body because she's just not at a weight that I'd be comfortable
For
having her
sure.
breed, right?
Duds take a lot less nutrients from their body than
Yeah.
an actual fertilized egg. So just giving them the chance to go through the cycle, to get used to laying. Like I had a female that I thought was too flighty and too nervous, and I didn't think I was going to breed her. And then she just started popping all these duds, and I was like, I'll see how she would do. If
Mhm.
she's too stressed out, I'm not going to put her through it. She put her tail right up and she was ready to go. She was
She's ready
like
to go.
Sunstone. It was Sunstone because I wasn't worried about her weight. Like her weight's
Yeah.
great, but she's just such a nervous gecko. And honestly, like when I have really nervous geckos, I don't want to put them through that. Like I
Yeah.
ultimately the animal's health, the animal's care, their well-being is more important than anything. And I think that's a big reason I stopped one breeding, but also I haven't really been active with posting and stuff because like I don't really want to sell like the market was really bad for a while and I don't want to sell a gecko that I've put years into for like $30. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't even cover what it's cost to keep them, but more than anything, I get a little nervous with that. Like if people are not willing to spend much on an animal that lives for 20 years, I
Mhm.
think that kind of tells me that okay, so what happens if it's sick? What happens if it
Yeah.
needs this? What happens if it needs that? Can you afford that? Are you willing to put this money into an animal? Because us breeders, like we put so much work in, and then we were talking about this, but like PetSmart's selling them for 150, 125. You don't know where they came from. You don't know their
Mhm.
genetics. They're probably inbred. I know all animals towards the beginning were probably inbred, but we're trying to work away from that. And I feel like PetSmart does the opposite and kind of ruins things for breeders who are genuinely putting in so much effort to keep track of lineage
Yeah.
and keep them healthy and bring new and exciting things into the industry. And then PetSmart's getting a hold of Lily Whites and ruining it for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about this before, but like I'm of the opinion that I'm not about to start putting a bunch of geckos out there that are going to be for way less
Yeah, of
than you're going to, but what someone's going to pay for a pet when they're going to a pet store, right? So
course.
at the end of the day, like there are a couple where I'll have marked a little bit lower because I know them. I know that they're a little bit more high strung, or they're a little bit less desired, or like I feel bad asking for the full pet price for the animal just because I know they might have a little bit of a harder time handling them or such, right?
Sure.
But those are few and far between. Like at the end of the day, like I'm not going to be posting animals and saying like, oh, $25, $30 or whatever. Like I feel like we do a disservice to the hobby as a whole when we're starting to put out so many animals at such low prices.
Totally
And
agree.
I think that if you're in a position that you're going to be putting them out at such low prices, that maybe
I lost ya. I'll let you know when you're back.
I'm back.
You're
I
back.
Yeah, okay. I was cut off mid rant. I don't know where it cut me off, but I was just saying I think that we do a disservice
Yeah,
to the industry and we kind of need to reevaluate. If you're in a position where you have so many that you're just trying to offload them and it's just a matter of like, discount, discount, discount. I think that unfortunately that's not going to be benefiting. Oh, there's the moths, guys. We've talked about episodes in the past. They're still around and I still have moths. My son, so I don't know if you saw that episode, but my son had wax worms for a chameleon that we had, like our first chameleon. This is before we even got into reptiles. And I told him, because the waxworms will turn into moths if he waits too long. And I said, if you have a moth, please make sure that you're careful and that you're getting rid of the moth and you're not releasing the moths in the house. So clearly that didn't happen. And we had the moths release. And we have been battling this now for 4 years.
Oh,
And
that's so annoying.
and we think they're all gone, and then next thing you know, it's like, where did this moth come from? And they
Wait
just
for the
will like,
podcast.
what's that?
We wait for the podcast to come on.
They
and then
do, right? Yeah, so it's been an ongoing battle of these little moths, and it is what it is. I mean, they're harmless. They're like little moths, right? But
Can't they eat your clothes?
not these ones. No, so these ones, they're waxworm ones, and I know where they're coming from. So like they keep I have to stay on top of I have a parrot upstairs. So they tend to go into like the tray in the parrot, like when I have to make sure that I'm cleaning that out like all the time to make sure that I'm up on it. But they'll find like other little spots, I think, and then if you don't catch where they're reproducing, then you end up having, like, there's a lot worse situations. I'm sure people have had nightmares where they've had other bugs that are a lot more intrusive.
Get me
I
started.
couldn't even imagine. I know April had a situation where her fruit flies went everywhere, and I'm like, at least she was able to manage that. But yeah, like, it's funny because it's the reoccurring moth that just keeps flying around, and they're minimal. Like, they come around, but I know they drive my husband crazy. These moths.
Crazy too. We recently I had a bunch of oranges like in my kitchen.
Yeah.
Get in through the bottom. I didn't realize, but they had partially hollowed out an orange.
Oh no.
I turned the orange over because I was like, why are there fruit flies in my house? Like the sink's clean, the garbage is good, and
They're living in the orange.
they're not in the gecko room. Pick up the orange. Ooh.
A lot of fruit flies. No,
it was horrible. I just let them all go back, and I covered it and got pretty much all of them out.
Yeah, I think that's bound to happen when you have reptiles that eat bugs. Like, I'll have a cricket that will get loose, and then I'll look everywhere for this cricket, and then I'm like, oh, a day or two later, I'm like, there's the cricket. Like, it's part of the game when you're feeding bugs. And there's a reason why I absolutely refuse to bring in like roach type bugs.
I lost you again. I wonder if it's my Wi-Fi.
World.
You're back.
I'm going to guess that my 2 children that I woke up before going on the podcast, because we have somewhere to be after this, are upstairs draining my internet access. And this is what's happening. Because they're all now ready to go and have done all the chores they had to do this morning. So they are 100% on the video games or on movies, and then taking all my internet. So that's fine. So I'll stop my tangent. We're at over an hour.
No, I'm losing you again.
That's exactly what's happening. I know they're on there.
The same video is gonna be so awkward every time. I'm just gonna be like,
right? I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
And I can see the little Wi-Fi thing is popping up, and it's like at the lowest thing, so I know that's exactly what's happening. We're at the hour mark, anyways. Okay, you froze for a second. I thought I was frozen again. I'm not going to keep everybody on much longer, anyways. So thank you very much for joining. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find you, how they can connect with you, where you're going to be posting all your stuff, pimp out your socials.
Well, on Instagram, I am Cassidy's Cresties without a space. I had a very hard time coming up with that name.
I didn't even ask you why you came up with that name because I felt like it didn't need an explanation.
I feel like it's pretty. I could have done Cassidy's Critters, but I was like, oh, there's Carrie's Critters. I don't think I should do that. And thought about Cassidy's Caledonians and like just focus on New Caledonians. I was like, let's just do Cassidy's Cresties. That's what I'm really into.
There you go.
Yeah, Instagram, Cassidy's Cresties. If you have any questions or if you're looking for something, definitely send me a message. But yeah, no, I'm always looking for new internet friends in the community. And thank you so much for having me on. It was great. It was great. It was a great time.
Yeah, I had a blast. Thanks so much for joining. We'll have to definitely keep chatting and stuff. And I'm excited to see like your new hatchlings come out for these projects you're working on, and to see what's going to happen next year too when you're doing other pairings, and to see if you're posting anything for sale.
Posting period. I'll work on it. I'll get there. I've got a lot of free time coming up, and I'm starting to slowly get back to a place where I can start doing some stuff again. I still have the long road of recovery, but I'm getting there again. So I'm gonna try and at least use my time off is because of a negative thing, but I can try and my best at least to use it positively, get myself better physically, mentally, and then take care of all my animals and get really right back into that. And hopefully set up a photo area soon that's not horrible.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for joining. I'm going to put you backstage, and I will see you right after we close off the show.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thanks.
Bye.
See ya. Well, that was awesome. Glad to have Cassidy on. What a great interview. It's so nice to touch base with other Canadian breeders and people that are so close by as well, right? And to see what everyone's working on and to share ideas and different projects that we're all working on. Next week, there's not going to be another show because I am in Vegas and I'm flying. We're coming back home on a red eye on Sunday night. So I will be spending my whole day hanging out in Vegas and checking out everything that's going on there. But I will be back the following week. So I will post some Vegas fun things to do and adventures, what we're going to get into. I'm leaving on Thursday. So it's long enough for Vegas, a Thursday to a Sunday night, like into Monday. But it's going to be first time for me going to Vegas. So I'm pretty excited about it. Thanks everyone for joining today. And thank you for those who are going to catch the replay later on. I truly appreciate the support. Met a lot of you at the expo this past weekend who came over and talked to me about the podcast, which was awesome. And I had those new stickers made up too. So eventually, I think hopefully by the next show that we do, maybe not the next one event in the fall, but definitely spring, I'm going to have some Coffee and Cresties merch as well, which will be exciting. So new things to come. But have an awesome rest of your Sunday and have a great week, and stay positive, everyone, and keep sharing all the good vibes and the awesome projects that you're all working on. And I will catch you in 2 weeks. See you later.
Shake your dreams from your hair. I'm already there, right beside you. So please don't hide your face.